Have you noticed this thing on LinkedIn? It's like where people just put company names.
Yeah.
Like, worked at this company, worked at that company,
Yeah.
or like no accomplishments.
Yeah.
What did they do there?
Right.
Right. And it's kind of a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a question that's been bugging me
Yeah.
because it seems like there's this trend.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a deep dive on that today, why people are doing this.
I think there's a lot to unpack there. There's definitely some psychology going on.
Yeah, I think so too. It's like, we're always trying to figure out like how to like crack the code of LinkedIn, right?
Right.
And this one seems like a big one.
It's definitely a head scratcher.
Yeah.
Why are people just name dropping all these big companies, like you said, without actually telling us what they did there?
Yeah.
It's like a roll call,
Yeah.
but not a resume.
Yeah. It's like, I was there.
Right.
But like, okay,
Yeah.
what did you do?
Yeah, what value did you bring?
Right. So what do you think is going on here?
Well, like you said, I think there is an element of psychology to it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We as humans, we tend to make associations with certain brands
Oh, yeah.
or company names.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you see that someone has Google on their resume,
Right.
you might think, oh, they must be tech savvy
Mm-hmm.
or they're innovative,
Right.
even without knowing the specifics of what they did there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. It's almost like a shortcut.
Yes, exactly. A mental shortcut.
Yeah. To be like, oh, okay, I recognize that name.
Mhm.
So I already have sort of a framework for evaluating this person.
Right. So instead of having to read through, a laundry list of their accomplishments, you can just see those couple of names and think, oh, okay, I already kind of know where they fit in the professional world.
Yeah. And what their skills might be like.
Exactly.
So you're saying it's sort of like a signaling thing?
Yes. It's very efficient signaling. It's like, instead of having to spend all the time writing out all these bullet points, you can just say the name.
Right.
And people will understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that definitely makes sense, especially if those companies are like really well known in your industry.
Right. If you're in tech
Yeah.
and you worked at Google or Apple, I mean, that's
Pretty
all you need.
Right. You don't really need to go into detail
Yeah.
about like what you did there.
Right.
Because people already kind of have assumptions.
Exactly about what that means.
Mm-hmm. And I think it makes sense too from a networking perspective.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Because if you have those names on there, might attract like recruiters or other people who've also worked at those companies. And it's sort of like, hey, we have that in common.
Yeah, shared experience. Like we were part of the same tribe.
Exactly. It's like a little signal.
Yeah.
For people to be like, oh, okay, I know that place.
Right.
Or I know people from there. So it might spark a connection.
It definitely opens doors to new opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm also wondering if maybe some people are just like hesitant to brag.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like to really go into the details
Yeah.
of their accomplishments. Maybe it's like a cultural thing.
Could be.
Yeah.
In some cultures, it's considered like not very polite to talk too much about yourself or your accomplishments.
Right. Like you don't want to seem like you're boasting.
Right. You don't want to toot your own horn too much.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe listing the company names feels like a subtle way.
Right. A little more humble way.
Yeah, kind of signaling your experience.
Exactly. Without being too overt about it.
Right. It's like, oh, I worked at these places, but I'm not going to like tell you all the amazing things I did.
Exactly. It's up to you to infer that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also worth mentioning that some people are just like restricted.
Right. Yeah.
Confidentiality agreements.
Absolutely. Especially in certain industries where, the work is very sensitive.
Right. You can't really talk about the specifics.
Right. Of what you did.
Yeah. So maybe they're allowed to say, like, I worked at, this company. But they can't say, like, I developed this top secret thing.
Right, exactly.
Or I negotiated this deal.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the tantalizing hint. But no, real details.
Right. So you're just left wondering, like, okay, what did they actually do?
Yeah. It leaves you wanting more.
But, like, you're not going to get it.
Right.
Okay. But now I want to.
Yeah.
Put on my recruiter hat for a second.
Okay. Let's see.
Because, if I'm a recruiter, I'm looking at these profiles and I see all these company names. Like, okay, that's impressive, but I also kind of want to know what you actually did.
That's the real question, right? Because the company name is just the context.
Right. It's not the whole story.
It's like the setting of the play, but not the plot.
Yeah.
You need to know what happened. What did you do on that stage? What role did you play? Because at the end of the day, it's those quantifiable results that really matter. In a competitive job market, did you increase sales? Did you improve efficiency? Did you develop a new product?
Yeah.
Those are the things that I really want to know as a recruiter. Not just where you worked, but what you accomplished there.
It's like the company name sets the stage, but it's your accomplishments.
Exactly. So it's about finding that balance.
So how do you find that balance?
Showcasing your value, but also using that name recognition.
Right. So you're saying you can use the company names to sort of like signal your experience.
Right. But then you have to follow it up.
With actual examples of what you did.
Like, tell me what you did at Google.
Yeah. Don't just say Google.
Exactly. Give me the specifics.
It reminds me of this time I was looking at someone's profile.
Yeah.
And they just listed the name. Oh, it's like super prestigious consulting firm.
Right.
And I was like, wow. At first, I was impressed. But then I realized there was
absolutely nothing about what they actually did at that firm.
Yeah.
And it just left me wondering, like, okay, but what did you contribute?
Wait, like, what was the point? What did you learn?
Yeah.
What did you do for that company?
Yeah.
It's like a mystery.
Right. But not a good kind of mystery.
Yeah. It's like a tease.
Yeah.
But no payoff.
Right. Yeah. So this deep dive has been really interesting because it's amazing how something as simple as, like, how we present our work history online can actually involve so many layers of, like, psychology.
Strategy.
Absolutely.
Right. Because it's not just about listing the facts. It's about how you present those facts and what impression you want to make.
Right.
So here's a question to leave you with.
Okay.
Imagine you're a recruiter. What would be more compelling to you on a LinkedIn profile? Would it be just a list of big name companies? Or would it be a detailed account
of someone's
actual contribution? Right. Like what would actually make you want to learn more about that person? And maybe reach out to them. Think about that as you refine your own online narrative.
That's a great point to end on.
Right.
Something for everyone to think about.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks for joining us.
And thanks for having me.